It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show for Thursday. And John never heard this before. So happy it's Thursday. S-H-I. There you go, John. So happy it's Thursday edition of the Brad and John Show.
Body humor, Brad. It's appalling. It's terrific.
April 10th. Okay. Once again, I know you get tired of me saying this. So do I. 883. Okay, here we go. I'm going to make a phone call here. Okay, here we go. Okay, turn the phone up here. Phone goes like that. Come on. Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose.
Good morning, sunshine.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
When I first met you, and we discussed this one time, what did you think was in Casey Sweetmeat's mouth? What did you think that was, Shelley?
A rolled cigarette.
You thought it was...
And my whole life, I've been a Casey listener since I was practically a kid, and I always thought, why did they put a rolled cigarette in that pig's mouth? And then just a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, it's not a rolled cigarette.
No, hold on.
It's a doobie.
Hold on a minute. The person that enlightened you to that fact was, guess who? Me.
Yes, it was.
I said to you one day, you said something about the cigarette in Sweetmeat's mouth. And I go, cigarette? That's not a cigarette. And you said, what is it? I go, it's a joint. And you looked at me like, huh? It's a joint?
I was like, that makes so much sense.
It does. Now it does. Okay. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You're still there in the big house, right? They still haven't paroled you yet?
Still here in the main house. Nope, okay. I blow this popsicle stand tomorrow.
Okay, well, hopefully, tomorrow you maybe think?
Oh yeah, I come back Monday, but yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay, Shelley, I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Okay, bye guys. Bye, John. Peace.
Bye.
I hate to. That's Shelley Barr, my former co-host on Westplex 107. Okay. I think I had problems. Once upon a time, I had surgery in my eye, which went horribly bad, and I always kid about the fact that it's never a good thing when you're under the surgeon's knife, or in this case, the surgeon's scope, or whatever the heck it was, because it was eye surgery. And the surgeon says, O-S-H-I-T, okay, which is never a good thing when the surgeon says that. Shelley had outpatient surgery 2 weeks ago today, and she's never left the hospital. So I will just tell you that I was lucky. I walked away from my outpatient surgery with my eye. Shelley, unfortunately, has not been able to walk away from her outpatient surgery. And what she was referring to is she's going to get out tomorrow, but she goes back in for another surgery to try to fix the surgery that they did 2 weeks ago today, which went horribly wrong. So... You know, John, there are people in this world that, nasty, mean people that and even if you are a true follower of God, you don't wish ill on everybody. But if you're a semi-follower of God, you wish ill on people who are bad people, and you wish good things on good people. But sometimes it seems like the opposite happens. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you mean, but you're dealing with somebody when it comes to Shelley who is, as you point out often, Brad, she's an eternal optimist, and she's not taken any opportunity to give up in this.
I guess, and it's sad for me because those of people who know Shelley know that she's not usually a Debbie Downer. She's always up. As a matter of fact, some people think I've actually had people say to me, I think she's sort of fake. I go, why is that? Well, she's always in a good mood. I go, you don't think there are people like that?
That's just who she is.
You don't think there are people that are in a good mood all the time? You think that some people have to live their life, a good percentage of it in depression? Oh my God, I got such a terrible life. My husband's terrible.
They would think that she's just highly medicated, like maybe she's taken some street pharmaceuticals or something, Brad.
Which in Shelley's case may be the case. Oh no, I didn't say that. I'm sorry. Okay, John.
Hey, as we get back to nicotine real quick, Brad, I saw an interesting stat the other day on Tuesday, not surprisingly via my favorite research firm, but did you know that for 60 years the use of nicotine went down, and for the last 2 years in the United States, the percentage of Americans using nicotine has risen each of the last 2 years.
Now, is that because of vaping and things like that? And
It's because of Zen. Yeah, it's because of, you can put a little lipper in now. And I know, I won't reveal any names or people, but Brad, I know professional women who use Zen during the workday.
Interesting. Okay. Changing subjects. Have you seen this story about Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, about not...
Does it have to do with pronouns?
Yes, you saw this
it's
story.
So good. I fall more in love with her every day.
Is this funny or what?
It's so good.
Here's the headline. Trump press secretary doesn't engage with reporters using pronouns in emails, says they deny reality.
It's so good. I saw her tweet that yesterday. And when somebody already has 10,000 likes, your incremental like doesn't matter. But I like that tweet anyway because I just feel good hitting the heart button on that, giving Karoline Leavitt a heart on,
Well, okay, John, I didn't catch that, but now I did. Okay. On my Twitter bio, have you ever seen my Twitter bio?
I talk about it. I've talked about it many times on this show, Brad. I quote you on that all the time.
I have my pronouns, which are dude and dudeness. And every once in a while, I get a nasty DM from someone saying, "You're making fun of me." And I don't even know who these people are. And at the time, the first time it happened, I go like, I don't know what they're talking about. And I responded back. I go, "What do you mean I'm making fun of you? You put your pronouns as dude and dudeness." And I'm going like, and at that time I got sort of aggravated. I said to myself, isn't the whole thing about pronouns is being able to say whoever you are, call what you are? I'm a dude and I'm a dudeness. And
mine are Z and Zem.
Right, Z and Zem.
And I think, Brad, as we haven't discussed this in a while, but I think it's a valuable marker. If you see somebody with pronouns in their bio, it's like seeing somebody riding in their car by themselves with a COVID mask on. You think, okay, that person, like, we don't need to make fun of them because there's probably something wrong with them. Either they're a virtue signaler or there's just something wrong with them. If you use pronouns, that it says something about you. It's
just like going back to, we had Shelley on this segment, back to the old days of the BS show when Shelley and I did this. A friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, one day said to me, she said, "I've had people criticize me because I'm white." And she says, "So I went to the paint store and I got paint chips." And I thought, "You did what?" She says, "I went to the paint store," and she says she told me she went to a Sherwin-Williams store, and she walked in. She said to the guy, "I want you to match my skin color." And the guy at first thought, "What?" And he laughed. So they went through all the little paint chip things, and they found her skin color. Well, I thought to myself, that's cool. So I go to Lowe's and I do the same thing, and I find, and Lowe's had these really cool little things that have three tones on one little chip, but they have holes cut out in the middle of the color, so you can actually hold the chip over your like whatever you're looking at and compare it. So in other words, you're looking through this square hole and you can put it out. So I am Mocha Java. My official skin color is Mocha Java. And when we used to do this on Westplex 107.1, when Shelley and I did the morning show, the BS show over there, I actually had people contact me who were mad about me saying this. And I'm going like, okay, I'm not white. I'm a man of color. And the crazy part of this is every single person on the face of the earth is a person of color. And I know people are going to go, "Oh, I can't believe you said that," because nobody is white. Nobody is black. Everybody is shades. Everyone has a different shade. I mean, if you put 10 quote-unquote white people in a room together, you randomly select 10 white people, and you say, okay, everybody put their arms out, nobody has the same skin tone. Right, John?
You're exactly right. And, the white code, it's been a while since we discussed this. If you look at different Pantones or different hex tones, like that all have numerical or alphanumerical numbers, for a while, when Twitter was cracking down, in the old regime, when they didn't allow you to use certain words, black people that didn't like white people would say, "Hey, I want to unalive YT." They would use that for white people so that the algorithm wouldn't catch them saying, "Hey, I want to unalive white people." So white T got around it. Or if they were saying that they hate white people, they would say, "I hate #FFFFFF," which is the hex tone in HTML language for white people. So it was a workaround to use anti-white language on social media without tripping up the algorithm.
You know, I don't get it. I never will get it. There are horrible people that are white people, and there are wonderful people that are white people. There are horrible people that are black people, and wonderful people that are black people. Do I need to go any further than that? I mean, I could take that to the point.
Yeah, Brad, you don't. And the other thing is that you and I, for folks who don't know this or who are new listeners, Brad and I both grew up. Brad, you were born in North St. Louis City.
I was.
And you spent most of your life. Is it fair to say you spent most of your formative years in North St. Louis County?
Well, I was up until 3 years old. I lived in North City, born at Barnes Hospital, lived in North City, then moved to Jennings. And then my father bought a lot and built a house, and we had some complications with that, and we had to sell our house in Jennings. We moved to the extreme part of North County, the Coos Farm. I actually lived on a farm for a year, believe it or not.
Off of Newhall's Ferry, right, Brad?
No. Way up north off of Spanish Pond, up near your near.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I got that confused.
If you go to, matter of fact, when you go where I used to live, you can't get any farther in North County to where I live because of the fact that if you get any farther, you get into the Missouri River. Because if you know,
you're right at the confluence.
Right,
yeah,
right.
And I guess my point is, Brad, you spent, and then you moved off of. You were off of. Was it Criterion?
No, Claudine, where the poor gal got.
Okay, yeah, Claudine, which we talked about plenty last year with the incident that happened there. My point, though, Brad, was that you spent all of your formative years in North St. Louis County when North St. Louis County was still pretty white, and then you moved out to St. Charles County, right? When it started getting, it started getting a little darker in North County. I grew up in Spanish Lake. I went to a predominantly black high school, Hazelwood East. The benefit that you had from living in a diverse area, and I had from living in an area in which I was a minority, is exactly what you said, Brad. You learn that there are terrible white people, and you learn that there are terrible black people. Like you said, Brad, you learn there are fantastic, high-quality black people and high-quality white people. And if you grow up in an area, let's say, I'm going to stereotype, Brad, you grow up in Wildwood, and you don't have any experience with black culture other than you see them on television, and you see that they're so oppressed, and white people are always hurting them, and black people are magical. And then you meet 100 black people, and one of them sucks. You feel let down because you've pedestalized this group of people for so long. They're so magical. How could they let you down? The benefit of growing up in a diverse area is that you realize people are people.
Right, exactly. And once again, they're jerky Italian people and wonderful Italian people. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't. And the crazy thing is, you made a comment. I lived in, well, matter of fact, when we first got married, I lived in Hazelwood. And the reason we ultimately moved was not because of the fact that the area was changing. I loved living in North County. Bought a house there, back in 1980, bought a house right on Hanley Road.
But why did you move to St. Charles County then?
Because of the fact that it was interesting, because when I was first married, and this was sort of interesting, before we had any kids, my wife and I used to go, our usual routine was we'd go into St. Charles County, and we'd eat lunch on Sundays, then we'd go look at houses because she'd yearned for a new house and blah, 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 blah. And we found a house that she fell in love with. I was not real wild about moving into St. Charles County. And once again, there are crazy things in my life. If you look at my life, there are things in my life that I did not want to do. And once I did them, I loved it. I didn't want to get married. I sort of got forced into getting married, not pregnancy or anything like that, but because I'm an independent guy, I got married. I loved it. I didn't want to have kids. Still one of the
and
things.
Talk a little bit about, Brad, in our last minute here, talk a little bit about, so why did you choose to move to St. Charles County?
Well, because of the fact that my wife fell in love with.
She really wanted to move out.
She wanted to move out there, and she pointed out the fact that we were probably going to, we wanted to have a family, blah, blah. We had one kid at the time, my oldest son, Brett, and, she wanted to have more. And the house we were in was a very small house and really, was probably okay for, husband and wife. But
you could get a ton of property for the same money in St. Charles.
But
you could get way more house, for sure.
But one of the main reasons was we lived on a main street. We lived on North Hanley. And if you know where North Hanley, we lived on North Hanley, south of 270. 4 lanes, lots of traffic, and she was concerned about the fact that if our kids got young, as they grew up,
went out into the street, chasing a ball out into the street, and here comes a Plymouth Parisian.
Exactly. That was the whole thing, and that's why we looked at a place. And other than that, I'd still be living in North County. Matter of fact, John, I know you probably...
And so, Brad, let me interrupt. I didn't mean to suggest that the neighborhood was getting dark, and you said, I'm going to hightail it. I'm saying that the time that you moved out to St. Charles County was during the mass exodus of North St. Louis County, when all of my friends' families moved from Spanish Lake in the mid to early 90s out to St. Charles County.
And as my boss at the time, he's no longer around, so I can give his name, Ron Grubbs.
What did he ask you when you moved out there, Brad? You said you were moving out. What was the question?
My boss, I was on the air at the old KSLQ, and literally Ron Grubbs walks into the air studio and says to me, hey, Brad, I hear you're moving to St. Charles County. I go, yeah, I'm moving out there. And he says, are you buying a single wide or a double wide? Now, Ron...
Talk about punchline. And hey, Brad, I hate to interrupt, but I got to hightail it out to St. Charles County right now.
Ron was a West County snob. John, a verbal here. I may not be here tomorrow. I'll call you later and tell you if we're doing a show tomorrow or not. Is that okay with you?
That sounds good, Brad. Yeah, just text. Hey, you know what? Actually, just call me and I will answer. You don't even have to text first, Brad.
Well, hold on. I thought it was I had to text before I could call. I thought that was the...
No, you have to actually send me a piece of direct mail and then tell me you're going to text me and then call me.
We didn't even talk about that. Here I send you that to stir
Brad,
stir your pot this morning. And you shoot back at me. Okay, I said shoot back at me.
I heard that.